Welcome everybody to the magnificent State Music Room here at Stowe House, just down the road from Solid State Logic HQ, where we're going to be taking a close look at the PureDrive Quad and OCTO mic preamps, as well as taking the opportunity, whilst we're here in this gorgeous Steinway behind me, to record some material with PureDrive, capturing the beautiful reverb of this room and exploring the tonal shaping options that these two units provide. The PureDrive mic preamp technology, originally developed for the SSL Origin console, is now available in a 2U rack format through the PureDrive Quad and OCTO, giving access to either 4 or 8 mic preamps respectively. Like their console counterparts, each preamp can be switched between clean or drive mode, but now with the Quad and OCTO comes an added twist. Clean mode is the renowned ultra-low noise floor linear SuperAnalogue SSL mic preamp everybody knows, impeccably recreating the sound of the source with clarity and detail. Classic drive is a symmetrical, predominantly odd harmonics mode also found in the SSL Origin console, a refined evolution of SSL's acclaimed VHD technology, introducing a pleasing harmonic distortion to enrich the input signal. And finally, new to the PureDrive rack unit preamp is the asymmetrical drive, offering up an alternative drive option, this time making the even harmonic content dominant and providing more pronounced thickness, coloration and softening of transients. This isn't where it stops though. PureDrive Quad and OCTO not only provide a fantastic front end to any recording system, but also provide an array of connectivity options to easily integrate into different studio and live setups. With onboard AD conversion up to 192 kHz via ADAT and AES at 24-bit and USB at 32-bit. The AES and ADAT outputs can even be repurposed to be fed from the onboard USB soundcard as outputs from your DAW. PureDrive Quad and OCTO continue SSL's obsession with progressive analog circuit design, and now it's easier than ever to access SSL's SuperAnalogue technology in your recording chain for stunning realism, clarity and detail, or engage the drive circuit for vibe, colour and attitude in either classic or asymmetrical configurations. So let's start by looking at both units with their controls largely mirrored between the Quad and OCTO, with the obvious difference being the number of preamps available between the two. Starting with the Quad then, we have 4 preamps split into individual sections, each with a gain and trim pot to set the input signal level feeding your DAW, along with a variable high-pass filter going all the way up to 300 Hz. Along the bottom then, we have access to the phantom power switch to power condensers or active ribbon microphones, and a line switch to allow the line level inputs to be recorded through the preamp circuit. On the right side then, we have the variable impedance switch, allowing us to change the impedance between 12K, 1.2, 600 and 400 ohms, allowing us to correctly load match some vintage microphones or even change the tonality of the input signal, giving further creative control when recording with the PureDrive preamps. Finally, we come to the drive control, where we can engage the drive circuit to switch between orange and green for the classic or asymmetrical drive options, giving us 2 distinct harmonic enhancement characteristics to shape the incoming signal even more. You'll also notice the screen-printed insert label, where by clicking on the gain pot to engage, we can hijack the analog outputs to feed external processors, such as an EQ, compressor or effects unit, bringing back the return signal to the unit before sending out the affected signal into our DAW via the host of digital connections, whether that's via AES, ADAT or USB. We can then similarly click on the trim knob here to switch in the reverse polarity of the input signal, perfect for getting phase coherent recordings between different sources, such as snare or overhead mics. You'll also see on the far left of the unit 4 jack inputs, which when connected switches the first 4 inputs of both units to be direct inputs, giving us the ability to use the harmonic characteristics of the preamps to the instrument sources. On the far right, we then have the power switch, sample rate selection for the AD and the clock source, allowing the option to toggle between internal or an external clock source. Moving down to the OCTO now, you'll notice the difference in the available preamps and a slightly different layout, removing the sweepable high-pass filter for a fixed 75 Hz third-order filter option, and access to the phase inversion and phantom power by clicking through the gain pot, and high-pass filter and line source selection by clicking on the trim pot. To the rear of the unit then, the Quad features 4 combo XLR TRS inputs and XLR outputs, also labelled insert sends. Above this, you'll also notice we have a DB25 input labelled insert returns 1 to 4 and line inputs 1 to 4, where we can connect 4 line input sources via D-sub and the return signals from the insert sends if we put extra processing in line, where then the output signal post-processing or the line input signal will be sent straight to your converters and onto your DAW. We also have here AES outputs 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, ADAT out and ADAT link, where we can insert a second quad to cascade up to 8 ADAT channels out to an interface such as the SSL12. Finally, a word clock in and out BNC connection to link an external clocking unit for larger systems, as well as a 75 ohm terminal if the word clock input is the last in the chain. Finally then, we have the USB-C type connection for recording straight to your computer over USB and the ISE power input and power switch. Similarly, looking at the Octo, we see 8 combo XLR jack inputs for connecting your input signals, a separate DB25 input for line sources, then a pair of DB25 connections for analog outputs and input sends, then a final DB25 connection for your insert return points. We then have 4 pairs of AES outputs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 and 8, followed by 2 ADAT outputs. The 2 ADAT outputs allow SMUX recording at higher sample rates and can provide 16 ADAT outputs at 44.1 and 48 kHz when repurposed in USB soundcard mode. Again, completing the unit is a word clock BNC in and out together with a USB C-type connection. So we've seen the units in detail, but more importantly, we need to know how PureDrive sounds. And so to demonstrate this, we're fortunate enough to have the opportunity to do some recording here in the State Music Room at Stowe, where in the following recording examples, we'll cycle through the 3 PureDrive states, moving from clean, classic drive, and asymmetrical drive, so you can hear directly how each mode sounds across a mix. Firstly, you'll notice I have both the quad and octo set up to utilize all 12 preamps for our session, and I've simply created an aggregate audio device with PureDrive units and an SSL 2+ to allow myself some monitoring playback for me and the artist. This, however, isn't the only option. We could use the ADAT out of either of the units looped into an SSL 12, but we're just focusing on listening to the PureDrive preamps today, so we'll simply use the 2+ here for headphone outputs. For our first demonstration, we're going to take a listen to this drum kit, and I've got 12 mics set up, so we're going to utilize our quad and our octo PureDrive units together. Inputs 1 and 2 are my kick in and out, 3 and 4 are my snare top and bottom, 5 is my hi-hat, 6 and 7 are my toms, 8 is my crash and my ride spot mic, 9 and 10 is my overhead mic, so I've got a pair of Royal ribbons set up in a Blumlein configuration, and then again I've got another pair of ribbon mics set up in a stereo Blumlein over here for the rooms. Now, I can utilize my impedance switch for my kick drum here, so we're going to have a listen in a minute to the tonality changes that that provides. I've then got high pass filters for anything other than the kick if I want to remove some of that bottom end, especially probably on the overheads and rooms, just to try and bring a bit more clarity. I can then also use the phantom power for obviously everything that isn't a dynamic or a ribbon mic, so that's everything's a condenser or an active ribbon other than the kick in and the hi-hat mic. Mark's now going to join us and we're going to have a quick line check and have a listen to the impedance changes on the kick and the hi-hat mic, and then we're going to have a listen to the full kit in the room. So I think that's the one we're going to go for today. If you wish to have a closer listen to these audio examples, you can find a link on the PureDrive product page at solidstatelogic.com and download each channel recording a full 32-bit 48 kHz WAV file using each drive setting, so you can explore the tonal shaping of each state without any additional processing. For our next recording, we'll be capturing the Steinway grand piano with a selection of classic stereo mic arrangements. This time utilising the octo, where we'll cycle through the 3 drive states, moving from clean, classic and asymmetrical, so you can hear directly the differences in each mode. For this setup, we're using 4 sets of stereo mics on the piano. Starting off on the soundboard, I've got a pair of close mic'd 4099 DPAs, moving up to a pair of 4011s and ORTF arrangement, a pair of wide set Omni microphones, 4006 DPAs, and then finishing off with a pair of ribbon mics and a Blumlein configuration. All of these are using phantom power and we're not using any high pass filtering. Thank you for joining us here at the State Music Room here at Stowe House. We hope you've enjoyed listening to PureDrive and the awesome musicians joining us today. For more information on PureDrive Quad and OCTO, as well as other SSL products and plugins, please head over to their product pages at solidstatelogic.com. And if you've enjoyed this video, please check out some of our other products and tutorial content on YouTube. Now let's let Ben play us out, and I'll see you again soon for even more exciting products coming from Solid State Logic.